Well, thank you very much. Is the PowerPoint up? Thank you. Thank you very much to the organizers for hosting me here. This is a pleasure. I haven't been to a metropolis since 2006, and it's just great to see how it has grown over the decades. So I'm going to present to you kind of our work at Pew Research Center based on a 2018 Global Attitude Survey where we surveyed 27 different countries around the world. Just to give you a background about Pew, we are a fact tank. We are nonpartisan, non-advocacy. We don't make any policy recommendations to keep the integrity of what the public thinks and also our demographic work. We keep unbiased work. So these are 27 different countries. We did 27,000 interviews conducted during May to August 2018 in 31 different languages around the world. The first finding, we asked this question: immigrants today, do they make our country stronger because of their work and talents, or are immigrants today a burden to our country because they take our jobs and social benefits? You see here, Canada is #1 in terms of thinking that immigrants make the country stronger. But then you see in the very bottom, countries that experienced the 2015 refugee surge in Europe have actually much more negative view and believe that immigrants are a burden to their country. And this is a really stark difference when you see the differences, especially in Greece and Italy. Between 2014 and 2018, there's a big change in terms of their views turning more on the negative side towards believing that immigrants are a strength. And then you see this divide ideologically. So we divided the sample looking at whether there are more ideological left, right, or center. And you can see here the United States is the #1 in terms of this huge divide. We already hear about this polarization in the US, and that's been dividing the United States public. But you see in Greece at the very bottom, you see that whether they're right or left, they both agree that immigrants are more of a burden to their country. And here in Canada, actually, whether you're ideologically right or left, actually agree that immigrants are a strength. Next, we ask a question about integration. We say, are immigrants in our country today want to adopt our customs and way of life, or do immigrants today want to be distinct from our society? And you see here, Canada is actually quite split, but this probably reflects the way Canadian society is in terms of people wanting to be distinct as immigrants or wanting to adopt your ways of life. You see the US is actually the majority believe that they're adopting the customs and way of life. And then there's an anomaly, which is Japan. And I was just there last couple months ago, where they do believe that their immigrants are adopting the ways of life. But the reason why is because they have a small number of immigrants, and they do have restrictive kind of policies where they have to have language. They have to know the language. So that's why the public believes they do adopt their ways of life. Next, we ask the question, are immigrants more to blame for crime? And around the world, half or more say that immigrants are no more to blame for a crime. You see here in Canada, 80% of your public believe that immigrants are not more to blame for crime. But you do see, again, countries like Greece, as well as Germany, where you see publics actually, on the other side, believe that immigrants are more to blame for crime. Then we also ask this question about deporting. So we say, thinking about immigration, would you support or oppose deporting immigrants currently living in your country illegally? Across the board, half or more countries believe in deporting illegal immigrants in the country. But you see US and Mexico and Spain actually is quite divided. And when you see here by politics, by political ideology, this divide is really apparent, where you see those in the ideological left are less likely to want to deport illegal immigrants in the US, whereas those on the right do. Then we ask this question around the world, in your opinion, should we allow more immigrants to move to our country, fewer immigrants, or about the same level as we do now? Across the board, the majority of the world don't want more immigrants. But you do see in Canada, the majority want about the same level. 53% of the Canadian public want about the same exact level you have now. You see the United States, about 44%. You see countries like Japan, which is going through a demographic crisis where we have more deaths than births every day. You see them wanting the same level, at least 58% wanting about the same level. And the next question, this is I would call the Miss Universe question about high-skilled immigration. Thinking about immigration, would you want to support or oppose encouraging high-skilled people to immigrate and work in your country? And pretty much across the board, majority want to support high-skilled immigration, with the exception of Israel and Italy. And when we take the sample of those who wanted fewer immigrants, they still support high-skilled immigration. And then we asked the question on refugees. Talking about immigration, would you support or oppose taking in refugees from countries where people are fleeing violence and war? And the majorities in many countries support taking in refugees. You see this here in Canada, you see it in the United States, you see it all over Europe as well, with a few exceptions. And the last slide that I want to leave you with is a question about brain drain. We asked a question about what about if people, is it a problem that, or moderately big problem for people leaving for countries abroad for jobs? And you see across the board, many majorities believe that leaving for a job abroad is a problem. As in an earlier panel, you saw someone from the Philippines, you saw the mayor from the Philippines. 65% of the Philippine public believe it's actually a problem that they have to send people abroad for jobs. But what's interesting here is that the big destination countries, United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, they're actually okay with people leaving. They're okay with their nationals leaving for jobs abroad. So I will leave you with that, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thanks.
I want to thank Neil for being very close to keeping the time, number one. And I want to ask him a question, and I'm not sure if it's in your research, but it does seem everywhere that integration is the key to successful immigration. Is integration slower now? And are some groups better at integrating than others? And are some countries better than others at integrating immigrants? Does your research show anything on that?
It's not clear for me in terms of our research showing who's better at integrating or not. We don't have a question about that. But we can tell you is that it's interesting to see the results where I highlighted Japan, where that's a very much more homogenous society, but yet the public believes that they're integrating their immigrants, but that's because there's a small number. Whereas in other countries like the United States, they believe that everyone's adopting their ways of life, and but it's a much more diverse, multicultural society. So I don't think we have any conclusions, but it's kind of interesting to see how different countries have a different set of control of how people integrate their society.